When everything is loud, you need silent guidance. Here it is. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is staring at their phone at 3 in the morning, scrolling through endless feeds, feeling completely overwhelmed by life. Someone else is sitting in their car in a parking lot, engine off, just breathing, trying to figure out how they got so lost in their own existence. And maybe, just maybe, that someone is you. If you're seeking more clarity amidst the chaos, subscribe so you don't miss the next videos. There's something Dale Carnegie understood about human nature that most self-help advice completely misses. He knew that when we're drowning in overwhelm, we don't need more complexity. We don't need another productivity system or a 20-step morning routine. We need simplicity. We need what he called the ability to find our center when everything around us is spinning out of control. Carnegie spent his life studying people who seemed to have this almost magical ability to remain calm and focused when others were falling apart. What he discovered wasn't some secret technique or hidden wisdom. It was something much more profound and much more accessible. He found that these people had learned to recognize when they were running on empty, and more importantly, they knew exactly how to refill their tank without adding more chaos to their lives. This video isn't about productivity hacks or life optimization. This is about recognition and reset. It's about understanding that sometimes the most courageous thing you can do is admit that you're running on fumes and that continuing at your current pace isn't sustainable. It's about learning to pause before you crash, to reset before you break. The people who find this video when they need it most are usually experiencing what I call the 3 silent signs. These aren't the obvious signs of burnout that everyone talks about. These are the quiet indicators that your system is preparing to shut down, even when you think you're still functioning normally. The first sign is sleep disruption, but not in the way most people think. It's not just that you're getting less sleep. It's that your relationship with sleep has become complicated. You find yourself either completely wired at bedtime, your mind racing through tomorrow's tasks, or you're so exhausted that you fall asleep anywhere but wake up feeling like you never rested at all. Your sleep has become either a battleground or an escape, but it's stopped being restoration. The second sign is what Carnegie would have called chronic urgency. Everything feels urgent. The email that could wait until Monday feels like a crisis on Sunday night. The conversation with your partner about weekend plans somehow becomes a negotiation under pressure. Even choosing what to have for lunch feels like a decision that carries weight. When everything is urgent, nothing actually is, but your nervous system hasn't figured that out yet. The third sign is the most telling, and it's one that Carnegie observed in people right before they either had a breakthrough or a breakdown. It's impulsive decision-making, but not the kind you'd expect. It's not big, dramatic choices. It's the small ones that don't align with who you actually are. You find yourself saying yes to things you don't want to do, buying things you don't need, starting conversations you don't want to have, or avoiding conversations you desperately need to have. Your decision-making compass has gone haywire because you're operating from a place of depletion rather than clarity. If you're recognizing yourself in these signs, what you need isn't motivation. What you need is what I call a low battery reset. And just like your phone, the first step is acknowledging that you're running low and need to plug in. Take a deep breath with me. In for 5, hold for 5, out for 5. Your system needs this pause more than you realize. The 24-hour low battery plan isn't about fixing everything. It's about creating enough space for your system to remember what normal feels like. It starts with 3 non-negotiables that require almost no mental energy but create maximum impact. Water plus daylight equals biological reset. Your body is approximately 60% water, but when we're stressed, we often forget this basic truth. We survive on coffee, energy drinks, and whatever's convenient. For the next 24 hours, your only job with hydration is to drink water when you first wake up and to get natural light on your face within 30 minutes of getting up. Not artificial light from screens. Natural light. Even if it's cloudy, even if it's winter, even if you can only manage 5 minutes. Your circadian rhythm needs this signal that it's time to be awake and present. The list of 3 is where Carnegie's wisdom about simplicity becomes practical. At some point today, Write down 3 things. Not a to-do list, not goals, not problems to solve. 3 things that are true right now. They might be 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things you're worried about, 3 things you accomplished yesterday, or 3 things you want to feel. The content doesn't matter as much as the act of getting 3 things out of your head and onto paper. This isn't productivity. This is clarity. The Pause 2 stimuli practice is about recognizing that when we're overwhelmed, we often add more stimulation instead of reducing it. For the next 24 hours, identify 2 sources of input that you can pause. Maybe it's news podcasts during your commute. Maybe it's background music while you work. Maybe it's checking social media during breaks. You're not eliminating these forever. You're just creating pockets of quiet so your nervous system can recalibrate. Say one no. This might be the most important part of the 24-hour reset. Somewhere in your day, there will be an opportunity to say no to something. It might be small. It might be declining to add 1 more item to your grocery list when someone asks. It might be saying no to staying late at work. It might be saying no to that voice in your head that insists you need to be productive during every free moment. Practice the word. Practice meaning it. Practice not explaining or justifying it. These 4 elements create what Carnegie called productive pause. You're not stopping your life. You're creating enough space within it to remember who you are when you're not running on empty. But sometimes 24 hours isn't enough. Sometimes you need what I call the 72-hour recalibration. This is for when the low battery warning has been flashing for weeks or months and you need a deeper reset. The 72-hour plan builds on the 24-hour foundation, but adds 3 elements that Carnegie identified as essential for lasting change. The first is minimal routine. This isn't about creating the perfect morning routine or optimizing your day. This is about identifying 3 small actions that can happen every day for the next 3 days, regardless of what else is going on. They should take between 3 and 9 minutes total. Maybe it's making your bed, drinking a glass of water, and writing 1 sentence about how you're feeling. Maybe it's stretching for 2 minutes, stepping outside, and naming 1 thing you're looking forward to. The specific actions matter less than the consistency and the simplicity. The mindful walk is Carnegie's concept adapted for our modern overwhelm. Once in the next 3 days, take a walk with no destination, no podcast, no music, no phone calls. This isn't exercise. This isn't productivity. This is what he called active meditation. Your job is simply to notice. Notice your breathing. Notice the temperature of the air. Notice the sounds around you. Notice your thoughts without trying to solve or organize them. Carnegie believed that solutions often came not when we were actively seeking them, but when we created space for them to emerge naturally. The honest conversation with 1 trusted person is perhaps the most challenging part of the 72-hour plan, but it's often the most transformative. Somewhere in the next 3 days, have a conversation with someone you trust about what's actually going on with you, not what you think they want to hear, not a sanitized version of your struggles, not advice-seeking or problem-solving, just honest expression about where you are right now. Carnegie observed that people often suffered more from isolation than from their actual problems. The act of being witnessed in our overwhelm can be profoundly restorative. But here's where most reset plans fail. They focus on the pause and forget about the restart. Carnegie understood that after any period of recalibration, you need to choose what he called the next right step. Not the perfect step. Not the most productive step. Not the step that solves everything. The next right step. The next right step is a 10-minute action that reduces tangible chaos in your immediate environment. It's not about your long-term goals or your big-picture vision. It's about creating a small pocket of order in the physical world around you. Maybe it's clearing your desk. Maybe it's organizing 1 drawer. Maybe it's throwing away expired food from your refrigerator. Maybe it's making that phone call you've been avoiding. The key is that this action should be completable in 10 minutes and should result in something measurably different in your physical space. Why? Because when our internal world feels chaotic, creating order in our external world sends a signal to our nervous system that we have agency, that we can effect positive change, that we're not completely powerless. Carnegie wrote about the psychological impact of what he called environmental victories. These small wins in our physical space create momentum for larger changes in our emotional and mental landscape. The clean desk doesn't just give you a clearer workspace. It gives you evidence that you can transform chaos into order, that you have more control than you realized. Choose your next right step before you finish this video. Don't think about it for hours or days. Look around your immediate environment and identify one 10-minute action that would reduce tangible chaos. Commit to it. Do it today. But even the best reset is temporary if you don't create what I call an anchor for the next week. This isn't about returning to your old patterns with minor adjustments. This is about identifying 3 specific changes that will help you maintain the clarity you've created. 45 minutes more sleep per night is often the difference between functioning and thriving. This doesn't mean going to bed earlier necessarily. It might mean eliminating one evening activity that isn't serving you. It might mean setting a firmer boundary around when you stop working. It might mean addressing whatever is disrupting your sleep quality. Carnegie believed that fatigue was the enemy of clear thinking, and that most people dramatically underestimated how much their decision-making was compromised by chronic exhaustion. One feed refers to information diet. For the next week, identify one source of information that you can eliminate or significantly reduce. Maybe it's news first thing in the morning. Maybe it's social media during lunch breaks. Maybe it's work emails after a certain time. You're not trying to become uninformed or disconnected. You're trying to create space for your own thoughts to emerge without constant external input. One commitment of meaning is about reconnecting with purpose, but not in a grand, life-changing way. For the next week, maintain one commitment that reminds you why you do what you do. It might be calling a family member once this week. It might be volunteering for 1 hour. It might be creating something, even if it's small. It might be learning something new. The key is that this commitment should connect you to something larger than your immediate stresses and responsibilities. These 3 anchors create what Carnegie called sustainable rhythm. They're not ambitious enough to overwhelm you, but they're significant enough to keep you moving in a positive direction. Let me be clear about something important. This isn't about perfection. You might implement these strategies imperfectly. You might miss days. You might find that some elements work better for you than others. That's not failure. That's customization. Carnegie always emphasized that sustainable change happens through experimentation, not rigid adherence to someone else's system. The goal isn't to become someone who never experiences overwhelm again. The goal is to become someone who recognizes overwhelm early and has tools to address it before it becomes a crisis. It's to become someone who can find their center even when everything around them is chaotic. There's something profound that happens when you realize you don't have to be at the mercy of your circumstances. You don't have to wait for external conditions to improve before you can find stability. You don't have to have everything figured out to take the next right step. Carnegie spent his career showing people that they had more power than they realized, not over their external circumstances, but over their response to those circumstances. Right now, wherever you are, whatever you're dealing with, you have everything you need to begin. You don't need more information. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need more time. You need to start where you are with what you have. The 24-hour reset, water plus daylight, list of 3, pause 2 stimuli, say 1 no. The 72-hour recalibration, minimal routine, mindful walk, honest conversation. The next right step, 10 minutes to reduce tangible chaos. The weekly anchors, 45 minutes more sleep, 1 less feed, 1 commitment of meaning. This video found you when you needed it most, because you're ready for something different. You're ready to stop running on empty and start operating from a place of intentional choice. You're ready to remember that you have more agency than you've been experiencing lately. The chaos around you might not change immediately, but your relationship with it can change starting now. The overwhelm might still be there, but your capacity to navigate it can expand starting today. The external noise might continue, but your ability to find internal quiet can strengthen starting with your next breath. Write below what you thought, what your next right step will be, and suggest a topic for me to cover next. If this was helpful, share it with someone who might need to hear it right now. Sometimes the most generous thing we can do is remind someone that they're not alone in feeling overwhelmed, and that there are simple, practical ways to find solid ground again. Your low battery warning has been acknowledged. Your reset is beginning now.